Welcome back, sleepers of Arrakis, to another deep desert resource and blueprint guide. That's right, Nerdbird here to once again highlight how the Corial storm has shifted our sands of fate out in the far reaches of the House of the Shai-Hulud. We have another juicy week ahead of us as we enter in the second week of the 1.2.1 patch, where everyone's fortunes depend on the mighty loot tables now. And speaking of those fortunes, this community has been excellent at helping this channel spread the knowledge of Arrakis every week by liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing this content to the rest of the world. I see each and every one of you helping out, and I could not be more thankful, and my heart could not be warmer. You guys are the best. Which brings us to the best part of all, the Deep Desert map. And taking a look at our deep desert map and the way that the Corial storms have changed it, we can see that there is a pretty balanced feature with a little bit of heavy leaning to the west side of the map in terms of the amount of large sand plumes that can be being exposed for us as the week. But to start off, we need to take a look at those great little loot caves. As for our Imperial testing sites this week, we have seen a reduced number. This is kind of what I was expecting last week, if you can remember, because we had such a large number or disproportionate number of testing stations, 2 large shipwrecks. Well, this week they are only going to hand us out 3, sitting out here in H2, F9, F8 border, as well as D2. So if you're looking for any of the components that are usually dropping out of these Imperial testing stations, such as the Holix pick or the power harness, or that adaptive Holtzman shield or circuit gauntlets, or Kani's cutter array, replica pulse knife, or the young Sparky MK6. These are all going to be found out in these 3 different areas. I know that there are different drop rates for these, but you can see those on the loot tables itself, and that's where you're going to be aiming for, trying to find those specialized items this week. Moving along, we have quite a few small shipwrecks that are popping up on our map this week. Here out in H2 and H7, we have 2, and then we have another one closer to the border on the F line, as well as on the E line, just across the border from where PvE turns into PvP. Of course, there are going to be expected a few more shipwrecks that are sitting down here in the D and C columns, as well as one that's right up there on the B8. Now, of course, these are expected to be dropping a lot less and fewer than what we usually see in the past, so don't be expecting to see them out there too often, but there are quite a few spots that if you are digging for what is being expected to drop from these small shipwrecks, such as the perforator, the replica pulse knife, or the replica pulse sword, or even shellbuster and the Regis disruptor pistol, these are what you will be looking for, because there are a high percentage chance to get these, at least higher than other places, so you might want to be keeping your eyes open for those. And then finally, we have the large shipwrecks, which are all sitting deep out there in the deep desert. 2 on the H lines of H2 and H8 round the corners. Then we have one jammed smack in the middle at I5. Of course, these are the type of ships that you will be looking for if you're trying to get your hands on the perforator, replica pulse knife, replica pulse sword, shellbuster, or the Regis disruptor pistol as well, because what we have out there is a high percentage chance on these ships. And of course, now everything is a instance loot, so you don't have to worry about waiting for those respawner times and people stealing it before you can get your hands on it. However, just keep in mind those things are on long respawn times, so you know, if you're looking for this stuff, you might be finding them in the smaller shipwrecks just as easy as you would the large ones. But either way, keep your eyes open for those out in the deep desert. And of course, the one thing that we are all trying to wait and expect for is that deep desert complete map setup, where we should be putting our bases down. What I can say to you is that we do have a very comfortable spread of islands all around the E. Of course, we have this big one sitting here out in E4, which I think is probably going to be your best location, because you are closest to not only that titanium, but you're also getting your hands on the islands or the caves, the shipwrecks that are both out here, and of course, these 4 different large spice plumes that are agitated by the worm whenever he starts eating too much of that nasty spice. Anyways, this is what's going to give you a chance to get out there and find those more. But as I said before, it seems like our islands are very well represented floating across the east, so there should be plenty of space and room for people to be setting up bases really close out here to that PvP line. As well, whenever you start thinking about where the danger zone is going to be this week, I can definitely say that it will more than likely be here on the west side of the map, because this is where everything is more or less focused, going from that F5 all the way over to the F1 area and up. You can see that there's a lot of stuff out there that is kind of dangerous. Of course, we'll put everything over here on yellow alert, as you do have caves, you do have the Imperial testing station, you do have the Stravinium, as well as one large spice plume. So you might want to keep your eye out, and of course that testing station right there. So you might want to keep your eye out if you're looking for a safer area to be setting up in to E7, E8 areas. There are some islands over there, and it shouldn't be too hard. Of course, that E6 isn't so bad either, and it does have a cave set on it, so you can be running that nonstop trying to get stuff out of it if you need to. And of course, you have the access to everything going in the center. Either way, the map is very evenly spread out this week. It does feel like there is more weight there on the west side, so you want to keep an eye on that just to be safe. And as of course, if you are new to the deep desert and you are not doing it and your ornithopter is in working condition, make sure to take time to fly out there and do all of the Imperial testing stations in the A column, because that is 180 free intel points. That is a lot of intel to get you pushed up that map and allow you to maybe upgrade and get something that you are looking for production and things along those lines. And thank you guys for hearing out the map. And now moving on to my favorite part of the show, the callouts, to let everyone know who is taking time to leave comments down in the sections that I appreciate you and that I enjoy reading and commenting to everybody's suggestions, as well as questions and statements that are being put inside of the video. Starting off, we have Eddie King 6723 says, yum yum yum, here's some delicious algorithm food. Your words are like water for the life of the algorithms, friend. May the currents of spice, or at least the video data, flow freely and bring this content to those who need it. Thank you for your incredible support and for helping the signal breach that void. Eddie King, you are a true royalty. Next, we have UBC Mayhem M. I like the loot changes, and he goes on to explain a little bit more on how that is. That's great, because instant loot is a blessing. There's no need for the kind of squabbling that would make a Freeman blush over the tremble of water. It's good to hear the random drops are keeping things interesting, even if the inventory is starting to look like a Taloxian harvest of unwanted gear. May your next drop bring you true and rare schematics, and keep fighting for the good fight out there, UBC Mayhem. And once again, thank you for leaving that comment and letting us know what your preferences and what your likes are. Next, we have Cup of Info and Nathan Helper, who reached out to tell us that there were 2 large shipwrecks out there close together, and that they were easy to be missed if you are not careful to look for them. Thank you guys both for this. This is phenomenal intel. It's a true field report worthy of a Mentat. Next, we have Laren Rob, who says, on point as always. Thank you so much, Laren Rob. You are the nicest. It is my honor to serve. Consider this video a small offering for the precious water in the vast desert of the galaxy. Your kind words fuel the desire to keep these updates sharp and focused. Thank you for making my efforts feel worthwhile. And finally, we have Raxon321. Thank you so much. I don't have time to game, so this video really helps me get out there into the deep desert faster. That truly touches my heart. Time is the most valuable resource, more precious than the spice itself. If the video helped you maximize your precious gaming time and get you straight into the action, then the mission is accomplished. Happy raiding, and may your journeys be swift and profitable, my friend. Raxon, thanks again for leaving that comment. As for everyone else, there's always lots of comments. I just don't have a lot of time to fill these things in before I have to release this video. Thank you so much for leaving them, sharing, liking, as well as subscribing to the channel. Remember, leave comments. Let me know what's going on. I will eventually make a shout out for everybody. If you just take the time to leave those comments down there, I will get to you, I promise. This was the Deep Desert Resource and Blueprint Map Update. I was Nerdbird. I still am, I think. And thank you so much, and have a great week.